Thank you all for joining today. For those who will be watching the recording as well, thank you for tuning in. The session today will be about AI and how it can be used in a research process. The tool I'll be focusing on for this particular presentation is Avidnote, which is an AI tool built specifically for research. And researchers and academics can use Avidnote to essentially read research papers, write and edit research texts, as well as conduct data analysis. Um, so if you have any questions during the presentation, you can either stop me, you can cut me off in between. You can just open your mic and ask a question. If you prefer to have a Q&A session at the end, that's also okay for me. So I'll just go ahead and go to my first few slides here. So when you talk about AI in a research process, there are usually three main stages you can use AI in a research project. The first stage, and usually it's the initial stage in a research process, is the reading stage. As a researcher, if you want to start a research, you have to basically go through a lot of papers, a lot of articles, to sort of have an understanding of, to have an idea about what you want to write. In this case, AI can be used to interpret text for you, simplify, complex topics so that you can have a grasp of the topic. And then once you have the idea, you can then go ahead to the second stage, which is the writing stage. Obviously, this is the most important stage in a research project. There's three main levels you can use AI in this case. The lowest level is using it as a spell checker. So, for example, how you will use Grammarly, you can use AI to check grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, as well as inconsistencies in a sentence. And then the higher level of this will be rewriting text. So if you already have an existing text from your previous project, you can use the AI to basically rewrite it to fit in the current context. Or, for example, rewrite it to sound more academic, right? If it's a text that you sourced it publicly. And then the highest level will be generating a whole section, for example, a literature review of a certain topic, and this is usually where I advise researchers to always be more careful because sometimes the AI is known to hallucinate when it produces outputs. Obviously, the newer models are doing a much better job. For example, we have the OpenAI, 5, uh, ChatGPT 5.4 models and so on. They are doing a better job when it comes to reducing the hallucination rates. And this is something that we've also tried to solve, I can say, in Avidnote. And if we have time, I'll probably show this in this presentation as well. And then lastly, if you conduct analysis, you can conduct both qualitative and quantitative analysis with AI. In Avidnote specifically, if you work with interviews, we have a transcription tool that you can use to transcribe your audio files if you do a lot of interviews. So without further ado here, I'll just jump into the application itself. So Avidnote is completely web-based. You can access Avidnote using any browser of your liking. If you go to avidnote.com, this is our registration page. You also can see some information about Avidnote here, some of our main features we have. From here, you can register for a free account. We have a free account that you can use to basically test out all the features. We also have paid accounts, so we have three different paid plans. And the main difference I would say is the AI usage limitations that you have, as well as the storage limitations. You can read more about our different plans when you go to avidnote.com/pricing. You can see all the different plans that we have and all their features as well. If there's interest, obviously, for your team, we are able to offer a free trial for all the teams that do a demo with us. So if there's interest from your team, we can talk more about this after this presentation. We can provide a 1 month free trial or up to a 3 month free trial, depending on how big your team is, so that they can have a chance to test out the premium plan. So once you register for a free account, you'll be directed to our projects view. The projects view is essentially a new feature that we worked on and released about 2 months ago. And in the project view, what we've tried to do is integrate all the main features that are available in Avidnote. And these are what you see on my right side here. So you see the AI reader, we have the writer, the analysis, as well as some other plugins in the notes section. And then on the left side, I have opened up a few papers for this particular project. This one is titled English as a Lingua Franca, basically English for native and non-native speakers to be used for communication purposes. And this is what I'll be showing, I'll be going through in this presentation. So when it comes to the number of papers that you can upload, for now, because we have recently upgraded our model, we are currently using the ChatGPT 5.4 model. Obviously, we also have our own integrated model that we combine with the or the OpenAI model. And in this case, the current limitation is about 90 papers, give or take, depending on obviously how many pages each paper has. But that obviously helps when it comes when you want to conduct, systematic reviews and scoping reviews. So if you do a lot of reviews, you can try testing that out. We're still in the process of testing how accurate the reviews are, and we'll be very happy to hear feedback from you as well if you have a chance to try it out. And then from here, you can directly chat across multiple papers. For example, here I can directly ask AI, compare the methods, for example, of these papers. The AI will just take a couple of, so this is our new model. It should be faster. Yeah, so you can see here the AI says both papers use qualitative learning. So it compares only two papers because one of the papers is an interview dataset that I uploaded, and then the other one is a teaching material. So there's only two papers that is comparing. Paper one, and it goes ahead and talks about the research design, quantitative strand, as well as qualitative strand here, data analysis used. And then does the same thing with the second paper, and then provides a comparison about the two papers. So you can be more specific here with your questions. For example, I see an acronym here, ELT. I can ask the AI very specific questions based on the papers I provided. In this example here, I'm asking the AI what is ELT. Um, so because we've basically provided context to the AI, we are getting very accurate responses. In this particular case, ELT might mean a couple of things depending on different context. If you ask Google, for example, you might get different answers. But in this case, since we're providing context to the AI, we are getting very accurate responses. As you can see here, it also points out the paper in which the acronym was used. In Kichkoyak's 2020 paper, ELT stands for English Language Teaching. So this is an efficient way to basically chat across multiple papers, break down, the topic that you want to write about eventually, and have that efficiency when you're doing so. So some of the other tools that you can use here in the AI reader is, common PDF tools that are available in Avidnote. For example, if you want to highlight a text that you find is important, you want to go back to it in the future, you can always highlight that. You can leave a comment on it as well, say this is important. So you have everything organized as you go ahead with your project. And then if you are reading through your paper, if there's a sentence that is difficult for you to understand, you can essentially just select the sentence, and then you have different options that you can opt for here. For example, in this case, I want to explain the sentence. I'll click on the explain button here. And as you can see here, the AI basically captures the sentence and provides a breakdown about, for example, here, some of the vocabularies that were used and how this sentence fits in the context provided. So this is a faster way to read across papers. If you want to switch to this view, the reading view, you can switch to this view. If you have any questions, you can just bring in the chat on the right side, ask your questions, go back to reading. If you prefer the split view as well, like myself, you can also switch to that. And then one last thing here before I jump into the writer. If you work with a lot of images, so you can actually analyze images in the AI reader here. Let me see if I, yeah, so there's a, for example, there's a bar graph here. What I can do is I can select the camera icon on the top here and then select the particular image. And then it will prompt you to append it to the chat, and then you can just ask questions on it. In this case, I'll just ask a general question. What is this? Um, so scroll down here. Yeah, so it's saying this is a figure one from Kichkowiak study. It shows the type of institution where the survey respondents worked, and then what you can get from the bar chart, as well as some of the key takeaways. So if you work with a lot of images, you can analyze that in Avidnote as well. One last thing here is we also have some of the AI options you see in the bottom here. So here we've tried to basically compile all the commonly used prompts by our researchers in Avidnote. So, for example, if you want to ask the AI to summarize the papers appended, you can just do this by clicking on, just a one-click button. So once I click on this, the AI will summarize all the papers I have appended here. So we provide a short summary first of all the papers, and then go ahead and provide a much more detailed summary. And then it goes on and on, provide some of the key findings here, as you can see. So this is more detailed, obviously. Um, Satisfaction, concerns, yeah, main findings as well, key takeaways, analysis of text. Um, yeah, so depending on how many papers you've attached, it will be, bigger output, obviously. And then key quotes at the end. So this key quotes is essentially if you want to basically reference some of the authors mentioned here, you can use some of the key quotes, which can be very beneficial. So this one is an easy way to just, for example, ask the methodologies of the papers used, compare the research of the different papers appended, and so on. If you want to create your own custom prompts, you can also do that. So this helps especially when you find yourself using a particular prompt for every project that you have. You can just save the particular prompts. For example, the ones highlighted in purple here are all custom prompts. So maybe I can look into one of these. So this is a prompt titled authors, and what it does is it extracts the names of the authors of the paper. So this is just one example. You can obviously create as many prompts as you want. So with that said here, I'll jump into the writer, and then we can talk a little bit on this as well. So there's two ways you can use the AI writer in Avidnote. The first way is if you already have an existing piece of text, for example, that is in your Microsoft Word document, you can just copy the text, you can paste it on the right side here, you can start working on that. Or if you want to start from scratch, you can also do that. So I have a blank page here, as you can see. What I can do is I can go to AI templates, and then I have the different options I can choose from here, depending on where I am in my research project. In my case, I'll choose introduction, for example. And then you see here the same papers we were looking at earlier are also appended in the writer. So this is very helpful, especially when what I mentioned earlier in terms of reducing the hallucination rate of the AI. So you can see here we have the same four papers. Obviously, you can add more papers if you want. You can also deselect some of the papers. Say if you don't want the AI to use a particular paper as context, you can deselect it. In my case, this is an interview data set I mentioned earlier. I don't want usually you don't use an interview data set to write an introduction, so I'll also remove this. And then you can choose your citation style here. We support different citation styles that are available, APA, Chicago, Harvard, and so on. I'll leave it at APA. And then, for example, here you can add additional information as well. I'll prompt the AI to make it brief because of time constraints here. And then I click on generate. So this just take a couple of seconds. What I want to touch on again, I want to insist earlier in Avidnote, how we've tried to reduce the hallucination rate is essentially by forcing the AI to use a particular context that we provide. So in this case, I chose three papers for the AI to use as its context when generating this introduction, and you can see, the content that has been generated, the output itself. It's talking about English, English as a lingua franca. So it's very accurate English language teaching. We also see some of the references that are used here. Kichkoya Kanlowi 2019 are actually real references that are from the papers I've appended. And I can try to find this particular reference you see here, Kichkoya Kanlowi 2019. So this is very accurate output. And we've essentially done this by, forcing the AI to use only a particular context that we provide, right? You can see also a bibliography that has been produced by the AI. And also in terms of references, you can, if you use Zotero as your reference manager, you can sync Zotero with Avidnote, and you can basically use them. I can show you how to use them in a few seconds. If you use other reference managers, for example, EndNote and Mendeley, you can either import your BibTeX file, or you can also choose to export your references. So Bernard, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, when producing the introduction, can I also integrate my own files? Can I say, this is my old introduction text that I want to rework by this and that material, and I have this idea for an opening, please use this, and then rephrase it. Is something like this possible?
Exactly, yes. So what you can do, and that's a very good question, Bernard. Thank you so much for that. What you can do here, you can essentially upload your document that you want the AI to use as context, as you mentioned right now, and then the particular prompt that you mentioned, you can put it all inside the additional information I mentioned earlier. So you can be very specific here with your prompt. You can ask the AI to maybe use the first document as basically as a foundation when writing an introduction, and then use the second document to do this. So you can be very specific with your prompt. I hope that answered your question, Bernard.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually that's one of the main reasons why we've given the flexibility to our users, to upload as much papers as they want, and also so that the AI can, we can reduce the hallucination. This was one of our main issues that we faced before we introduced the project view. So before we release this update in Avidnote, you could only prompt the AI questions, for example, write an introduction about this topic, but you could not attach, maybe papers or context to the AI to use when it's producing that particular section. And we had a lot of issues of, hallucination. The AI sometimes will produce completely incorrect information. But with this new update we have in Avidnote, you can essentially do that right now. You have the flexibility to do that. So just going back here to what I was mentioning earlier in terms of the references. So when you're trying to add a reference, for example, you can just click on the add symbol, and then I have all my references synced here with Zotero. I can search some of my colleagues here, maybe. Yeah. So you can see here, I just added an in-text reference. You can change this depending on the location it is in the sentence. And then we also have generated the bibliography here. You can change this depending on the citation style, if it's Vancouver and so on. And then the other second thing that I wanted to mention here before we go to analysis is if you copied a text from your Microsoft Word, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to start working on that, what you can do here, you can select the sentence. If you want to maybe improve it, if you want to add something on it, there's different options here. So you can either rephrase this sentence. The AI will basically try to rewrite the sentence to fit in the context. It will look at the previous text before it and try to change the sentence to fit the context, or you will also try to make it sound more academic and so on. And then some other options is extend here. The AI will try to add more sentences in that particular text so that you have more context to work with. You as a researcher, you can then look at that particular sentence, a particular output, and then see, okay, what in this text is beneficial for me. And then you can take that particular sentence, you can rewrite it to your own voice, you can add real references, and then use it in your project. Obviously, you don't just copy and paste what the AI produces. This has also been the case even before AI. As researchers, we have to always cite real references. We have to change the sentence to our own voice and so on. And then you also have the fixed grammar option here. What I can show maybe an example on this. I'll try making some grammatical mistakes here and some spelling mistakes. This is particularly useful, especially if you have a large piece of text. You can just fix the grammar here. Click on fix grammar. So you can see here, it will fix the grammatical mistakes and the spelling mistakes without changing the original text, which is important, obviously. One last thing here is we also have the custom prompts. So here you can also be very specific with the prompt. You can ask the AI to maybe rewrite the sentence to passive voice. That usually it's a common thing to do as a researcher. Or you can be very specific. Maybe you can ask the AI to use a certain template when rewriting this text and so on. So you can try to play around with that as well. And obviously, we support translation here. You can translate this to different languages that we support. You can also change the style to sound more academic or sound more simple as you wish. So without further ado here, you can obviously download this as a PDF or as a Word document and use it for later on as well. So when I jump into the analysis part here, there's obviously two different data sets you can analyze in Avidnote, both qualitative data set and quantitative data analysis. You can either upload it from your computer if you have your data set stored in your computer. We support different file formats here. We have Microsoft Word documents, PDF, obviously Excel sheet as well. And also, if you already have your data set in Avidnote, you can also upload from there. You can also upload multiple PDF or file formats. So you can see here all these files I've attached. In my case, I'll just want to use one of them. I think this is an interview dataset file. I'll click on continue. And then we have different options here for you. So if it's qualitative analysis, in my case, it's an interview file. I'll click on interviews. If it's quantitative as well, if you work with a lot of numerical data, you can also choose from one of these options we have here as well. I click on continue, and then it will ask me for a template to choose. We have narrative analysis, thematic analysis, and so on. You can also create your own template from scratch. So you can click on new template here. Provide a name for your template, for example, SWOT analysis. And then here is where I usually advise researchers to be more specific when it comes to the prompts that they want to provide to the AI. And then they can save their particular template in Avidnote as well and use it as much as they want. In my case, I'll choose narrative analysis and then click on analyze. Also take note of how fast the AI was just now. This is all the newest models we're using. So we have very fast response, very fast output. This is a narrative analysis. I think this is an English interview, Oxford English interview by Jen and Joanna. So we have beginning here, setup and framing. The document opens by establishing the speakers and the purpose of the encounter. Middle, development through questions and interpretive exchange. And then it goes on to talk about some of the key turning points here, from general interview principles to actual candidate dialogue. Obviously, the characters that are mentioned, Jen, Joanna, Sonia, and then teams. Obviously, this is important for narrative analysis. Interview as a dialogue, not examination. Narrative perspective, use of time, as well as a conclusion at the end. So you can test this out with both qualitative data sets. If you work with a lot of qualitative data, if you work with a lot of numerical data, you can also test that as well. You can save this in your computer and then go back to it later on. And other things here I can talk about before going to the Q&A session maybe is you can also save some of these outputs we saw earlier in the AI reader. And if I scroll up here, I can save this as a note, and then you should be able to find all your notes under the notes section. You can actually edit your notes as well. You can add extra notes here. You can save this. So everything is saved under one project, right? So once, let's say in the future, in a few years or in a few weeks, if you go back to your particular project, you should be able to find, all the comments that you left, all the notes that you left for that, project. You can actually leave a note. You can create a note from scratch. So let me try to do that here. That has not, maybe I can save something important here. Go out to type. Okay, something important. So you can leave that. You can find all your notes under your library. So this is the home page that I did not show earlier. But once you go back to outside of the project, so this is your home page here. You can go to the library. You find all your notes here. You can see here Abdalla's notes that I just saved here as well. And then last thing is the plugins that we have. What I mentioned earlier, you can transcribe interviews in Avidnote. So what you can do here, you can upload your audio file or your video file. You can choose the language. I usually suggest if in the interview there's different languages that were used, you can just leave it on auto detect. And also I advise you turning on the speaker labels as well as the timestamps. All this data that is stored in Avidnote is stored under GDPR certified servers. I'll also talk more about this in a few seconds. And then if you work with a lot of programming, we support different languages. We have R, MATLAB, SPSS, and so on. You can generate code snippets in Avidnote as well. And then you can analyze both your transcripts. So if I go back to analysis, here you'll find all your saved transcripts. You can analyze them as well as your code snippets. So I'll just go back to my presentation slides here, finish up a few slides. When it comes to data privacy, all the data that is used in Avidnote is stored under GDPR certified servers that are based in the EU. Obviously, that's where our company is based as well in Sweden. So in Avidnote, you own your data. We do not take any ownership of your data. We do not delete your data. We do not have access to your data as well. And your data is never used to train the AI. So if you choose to leave Avidnote at any point, you can always retrieve your data and delete it at any time. And we use industry standard security measures to keep your data secure. So this is very important for us, especially because we have customers that work in the health industry and they do a lot of interviews with patients. So they have a lot of sensitive data that they upload in Avidnote. So we make sure that the data that they store is always secure. And we can, go into more details on this with the IT team in the university if there's a need for it. Lastly, we have customers from around the world. Obviously, we have our main market is in the EU. We have a couple of universities in Finland, for example, University of Helsinki, who have a institutional license with us. We also have, a lot of research groups and departments, both in the Americas as well as in the Middle East that work with us. If there's interest, like I mentioned earlier, we can provide a free trial for your team to test out Avidnote. Usually we provide a 1 month free trial of the Avidnote premium plan so that you can test it out, have a feel for it, and then if there's a need in the future, we also have group plans for the subscriptions. So depending on how large your group is, the bigger the group, the more the discount. So we can also discuss in more details about this if there's interest as well. So I'll just stop sharing here, go back to the presentation team, the meeting team here, see if there's any questions. You can either open your mic or you can leave it in the chat. Any it's fine for me.
Well, it seems there are no immediate questions. I just want to add that I really like the feature to transcribe interviews, and I found back to my own research project, and I remember how arduous of a work this was, and just to just upload the interview in a data secure environment and have it transcribed and maybe tested, read it through while listening to it, but. Yes, that alone is really impressive.
Yeah, no, you can imagine, before AI, it will take you hours to transcribe an interview, but with AI, you can literally do it in a matter of seconds, which is crazy. And this is actually one of the main reasons why most of our users actually use the transcription tool in Avidnote because the data is fast, it's secure, and also so far from the testing that we've done, it's quite accurate. You also have an option to edit the transcript as you listen back to it, so which is quite helpful as well. If anyone is shy, by the way, of opening their mic, you can just leave the question in the chat. That's also okay for me. But if there's a very particular question that you have in mind, perhaps I can leave my email here. And then maybe if you can leave the question via email, that's okay for me as well. So that's my email. You can always reach out to me if you have any question. If there's interest, Dr. Bernard, we can set up the free trial for the team. They can test it out. Usually comes with no commitment. So it's just a way to basically have people to have a feel for Avidnote. The best way to test out Avidnote is upload papers that you've worked with before, you've co-authored, and then you can try to generate a section, an introduction about it, and see how accurate the output is. That's usually the best way to gauge how accurate the AI is and so on. So if there's interest, I can send you all the details via email, and then we can go back and forth from there if that's okay.
That sounds really great. Thank you, Abdalla. I think everyone has received your email address, and please reach out to Abdalla if you have questions, and ask around in your institutions or write me an email. You know my email if you're interested, and let's see what we can do, either individually or institution-wide. Let's see.
Nora has a question. Anna.
Yeah, sorry, maybe it's a bit a beginner's question, but I'm just wondering if you could
no
say
worries.
something about the data security, because you're using OpenAI and ChatGPT, and so how do you guarantee that the data is really secure? Because, I mean, you transfer the data there, no?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Nora. And for OpenAI, for example, they have a data retention policy. So maybe I actually had saved this somewhere. Let me just try to. Yeah, so for OpenAI, usually their policy is data is retained for 30 days. That's part of OpenAI policy. But usually the user details are anonymized. And we can also change this. So at an institutional level, so if let's say the university acquires a license with us or an enterprise license, we usually move the model from OpenAI to Azure model. And with the Azure model, they don't have the data retention policy. So that's the only caveat when it comes to OpenAI. But in terms of where the data is stored, all the data is stored in the servers in is it French? Yeah, it's French servers. I think it's Hetzner. And with the data storage, it follows the GDPR compliance. So as you know, GDPR data privacy is the strictest data privacy law I think in the world. It has very strict rules. So in terms of data privacy itself, it's usually very secure. But in terms of OpenAI, data retention, as I mentioned, is usually for 30 days, but it's user anonymized. And we can change that obviously if there is also concerns on that at an enterprise level to Azure model. So I hope that answers your question, Nora.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So much. We also have a message from Kaufman here. Thank you, very interesting indeed. Seems like a great tool for research and teaching as well. Sorry, I need to. Oh, okay. Oh, no, it's Kaufman. I think we're about to end the meeting here as well. If there's no more questions, we can end it here, Dr. Bernard, and then I'll send you over the recording link and also some of our group pricing details, and then we can talk more via email if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining as well. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.